joining us on tonight for Cups and Conversations. We are on season 1, episode 7. Episode 7. We've been doing this thing for a minute, y'all. So thank you for joining. Thank you for tuning in tonight to hear us talk about life after the D. And we are talking about divorce, drama, death, and all other things that go in that. I have some phenomenal women joining us tonight as guests. I will introduce them to you. They are near and dear to me. We have been doing this friendship thing for a minute. So I wanted to bring them on so that they can share their experiences. If you have not already, go ahead, like, subscribe, and bang that bell so that you do not miss any content. I will go ahead and introduce our first guest. Her name is Jasmine Larelle. Jasmine, introduce yourself and tell us what's in your cup.
Hey, beautiful people. I'm Jasmine Larelle, and I'm a divorcee and a toddler mom. And in my cup is a toy from my son because he is my motivation to continue to achieve and obtain success.
Thank you, Jasmine. Next, we have Darletta Joiner. Darletta, introduce yourself and tell us what's in your cup.
Hello, I'm Darletta, and what's in my cup is some glasses, just so I can see myself well again. Yes. And what's special about my cup is the saying that it says on it. Sometimes we forget how awesome that we are. So this is just a reminder.
Thank you, Darletta. That's right. We got to remember how awesome we are because sometimes we're waiting on people to validate us. And we got to remember who we are by ourselves, standing on our own 2 feet. Next up, we have Tara Williams. She will be joining us. Tara, introduce yourself and tell us what's in your cup.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tara Williams. I am a divorcee and nothing is in my cup because life is full of all opportunities. So take advantage of every one of them. My cup says you are the best because it's a remembrance of me saying that I am the best of every opportunity.
Yes. All right, ladies. Yes, ma'am. Sometimes you just got to leave room to allow life do what life does. So I appreciate you having nothing in your cup because you're going to fill it with whatever life brings.
Whatever.
That's a good one. Yes.
That's right. You fill it with whatever you want to fill it with.
Right. Yes, I love it. Well, thank you, ladies, for joining us on tonight. And thank you, all you amazing viewers, for joining us as we are about to get started. Welcome to Cups and Conversations. So since we are talking about divorce and drama, death, we are going to talk about before marriage, during marriage, and after marriage. So everybody on this line is a divorcee. We've all been married. We all have been single before we got married. And we believed that that first person was the one we was going to spend the rest of our lives with, right?
Yes.
But somewhere along the lines that just did not stick. So let's talk about before we got married, what did we think a wife was? What did that even look like? Did we have women in our lives that were wives that we spoke to or kind of told us, you know, what it's like to be a wife? Or was it some fantasy that we're like, hey, we know we're supposed to get married. Let's just get out here and figure out what that looks like. Anybody?
I'll go. I'll be totally honest. It was a fantasy. I did not know what I was doing or what to expect. I grew up watching Disney and all them rom-coms, and you fall in love with that the fantasy of the wedding, that dream. Well, I got to get married, and you don't want to be single forever. So you kind of ignore the red flags and you focus on finding somebody to get married before, you know, for me, it was like, oh, I got to get married before I turn 30, you know, and have a house, the kids, or whatever. And you have that stuck in your mind. And so you just ignore all the red flags just to achieve that goal.
So for you, it was more like a societal perspective, like this is what society wants me to do. or
Right,
what the
just checking
world
off
kind of
boxes.
tells us we should do, right?
Right,
Okay,
exactly.
Tara, what that look like for you?
For me, it was more family. My family married young, so they, my grandparents married young, my mother married young, so they felt as if you should marry young.
Okay.
So I followed that suit, and learned that I fantasized off of that. I fantasized like, this is what I need. I had at a young age, I knew what age I wanted to be married. I knew what age I wanted to have children. I had my whole timeline built out before 30.
All
So
right.
my life was built before I was 30 years old.
Okay.
By 30, my kids were going to be well in their age. And to be honest, by 30, my kids were really well beyond their age. So I knew that this is what I was supposed to do, because this is what I was taught to do as a young child. But that's because my family, that's how I was brought up. I was brought up in the South, and that's what they did. And this is how they kind of did things. So
got you. So it's just basically like, this is what you saw. This is what everybody else in your family was doing.
It was the example that was set. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, Darletta, what about you?
Well, ladies, listen.
Hey,
it was totally different from me. I seen a dress. I thought it was cute, and I was just like, "Hey, let's go do this." I had some fun, and I went into marriage not knowing anything about how I was supposed to be, how I was supposed to conduct myself. I had no idea. I was totally in the clouds, and like you said, Jasmine, Cinderella and all those type of things was perfect. I liked the dress, I liked the shoes, I liked everything. And that's all I thought that was important. Sweethearts, I was woke up.
Okay, let's talk about that. Yes, the dream happened, and it was like, oh, it's gonna be like this, gonna be like this. It's not like that. So let's go ahead and jump into this game before we get into the meat and potatoes. Ladies, grab your paddles, get them ready, because it is game time. All right, ladies, you got your paddles ready? Let's get started. I'm going to ask some questions. Thumbs up if you're rocking with it. Thumbs down if it's not a good fit. So, first things first. Did you have a new you makeover or divorce party once the divorce was over? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
I guess.
Okay. We got 2 yes, 1 no. Darletta, why not?
I guess I was still in married mode, and I don't know if that's gonna make sense to you. So it was
sense, girl.
It was like when I finally got it, it was over. So it wasn't a bad thing that I got it. It was wrong timing. It was some things that I learned about myself that was totally wrong, and that I had to check myself on. So I didn't celebrate. It wasn't like I needed to learn me, so I needed to take a step back and figure that out.
Got you. Tara, you said yes. Talk to us about it.
Because through my process and knowing that it was time, so I voted to separate from my ex in order for us to get together. I was married for 20 years. So before we decided to get divorced. And with that said, when we decided to go through our divorce process, I gained a lot of weight. And through that, I wasn't happy with myself. I wasn't happy because I wasn't happy with myself. A lot of things were slacking within my family. structure with the kids and my work at work. So a lot of things were lacking. So I had to put my big girl panties on and figure out my life and kind of figure out what that looked like and get myself back. And with that said, I needed to, you know, get my sexy back. So I decided.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so I just lost the weight, got my sexy back, and got my confidence back because that's what was needed for me. And then everything else started falling in place. But I realized that I allowed that moment or that time to take over who I really was, and that's not who I was before I met him. Therefore, it couldn't be who I was after him.
Gotcha.
So, I needed to take control of that. And it's interesting when you're married to a person for such a long time, how you become someone different, and you don't realize it until, you know, the time has changed.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Wrapped into the family life and raising the children and all of that. But my children are grown, and I thought, they grown, I gotta go. Like what? Like what's gonna happen after this? Like, wait a minute. And I became an empty nester at that. Like I started seeing myself becoming an empty nester quickly. And it was happening in the next year to 1 to 2 years. And wait a minute, well, what?
Absolutely.
Game is not the same, baby.
Absolutely.
Facts.
So yes, I immediately got it took some time, but I got myself back and lost the weight. And you were there, you were a part of it, you know. Yeah.
Honey, because we held each other accountable back then. So we both was getting our sexy back, honey.
Right. Girl.
Did you drink your gallon water? Did you want
you got that smoothie down? That smoothie challenge was serious.
Yes.
So yes. Absolutely. So it was during that time. So
yes. Well, that's good. So you did go ahead and said I gotta get my sexy back. Jasmine, what did that look like for you?
It was a complete makeover, and it was just to find my confidence, like Tara was saying, and also just to heal, like to start that healing process. Because I realized when we separated, I was married to my husband for about 8 years, close to 8 years, 7.5 when we filed for divorce. And I realized that I lost myself in the marriage. I didn't know who Jasmine was anymore. Right. So I started, figuring out things I like, going to the movies by myself, going working out. I lost like 40 pounds, just focusing on me to get me back and be separate from who I was in that marriage, because you're a different person now.
Yep, exactly.
Totally agree. So next question. Do you now have a clear understanding of your own values and beliefs? Could you say that you now have a clear vision of what that looks like after you're no longer married?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Okay, good. I can agree with that. So let's go before the marriage, since now we have a clearer understanding. What was it like beforehand? I can't say that it was insecurity. That's not always what it is when you first jump out there and get married. Did you believe that mate was the one for you, and why? Darletta.
Oh, child. Okay. I feel like my situation is a little different because I didn't start finding who I was until after my second divorce. And I say that to say this. Before I was married the first time, I was young. I was early 20s. The person I married was we was high school sweethearts. Then I grew up. Life happened. Okay.
Then I grew up.
Yeah, like life. Literally, I grew up with my first husband. I jumped so quick into the next relationship and got married again. So I absolutely didn't know who I was. And before that, I was a kid. So I couldn't even tell you what life was, because I'm going from a young adult to 3 children, a husband, and having no idea what a wife is supposed to be, to now I'm second married in. And after that second divorce is when I really had to step back and like you guys, get yourself together and have standards and have boundaries, because I didn't even know what those things were at first.
Mm-hmm.
Understood. But I guess we all can agree with that. Tara, you want to add anything to that?
Girl, I was a baby when I got married. So like I was first
How
out of
old
college.
was a baby? What does that mean? What was that age?
I literally graduated from college, right? And then got married the next year. Like I literally. So I got married at 23.
Okay, so you don't feel like you really had enough time to get to know
No,
yourself.
I don't think I had enough time to blink. So I didn't have to be honest. Let's be honest. Like I didn't have the pomp and circumstance. I didn't do like I met him. We dated for 8 months to a year, and then we got married. So it was a very quick decision. I will say that he was definitely the yin to my yang. We were a great team, and I will never ever say anything ill about it, because we were a really good team. It was just that we grew up together and we grew apart, and that's exactly what it was. It was we got married young, and we honestly grew up. We got married, we had children. I got married. I got pregnant on my honeymoon, so it was like whoop.
Hey,
family, like
like
Barbie doll, real quick with the house and the dog. Like it happened really, really fast. We had the picket fence before we knew it. We were in the house with the picket fence and the dog and a baby. Like it happened really quickly. So it happened all within a couple of years, and so we grew up together. And after 20, we grew apart, and that's exactly what happened. So I won't say that it wasn't. It was a life experience.
Yeah, most definitely.
I will take this experience to my next experience and to my next golden years.
Hey,
that's right.
That's right, bro. That's right. Because that's where I'm at, ladies. I'm in my next golden years. So I'm gonna take that 25 to my next 25.
That's right. That's right. Living my life like it's golden. I'll take it.
That's right. So. Huh?
I said, yes, ma'am. Jasmine, you got anything you want to add?
I mean, my story is a combination sort of both y'all. I mean, I met my husband. We grew up together as well. We met in high school. So we met each other when we were 13, 14, but we didn't start really dating until college. And then it was this whole vision like we're going to build together. And so we were going to be the Huxtables. You know, I'm an attorney. He was a nurse, is a nurse anesthetist. So it was just like that whole, we were building together and that we had this vision together. So because of that, you let a lot of things go aside, because that's the person, you know, you're building, you trust, you know him so long. And then I just didn't know what my standards were, because I was so focused on that vision and not focused on what was best for me. So.
Got it. And that's true, because a lot of times when we do get married, it's not about us anymore. It's now about the family. It's about what the husband needs, what the children need, what the dog needs, Tara, what what the house needs that you be developing, what the business is, what the team needs, a sacrifice for the team. And let's talk about that, the different sacrifices that we have to go through, or we choose to go through as wives. Let's talk about the sacrifice. Tara, any sacrifices?
What? Sacrifice. Hello, didn't I just tell you? I sacrificed all my 20s. Okay, my 20s, my 30s, my 40s.
Said it all was a sacrifice.
All of it. Hello?
How do we choose to lose ourselves? Is it really a choice, or do we just not want to rock the boat and have the arguments or have the uncomfortable conversations? Because I know sometimes we just tend to allow things to happen?
I think that it just happens as women, as mothers, as nurturers. We just kind of get in where we fit in, and we just naturally allow it to happen. Not that we want it to happen. It's just that we are such we're nurturers by nature. So we just kind of take control. When we see a need, we feel a need. That's just who we are as women. And so we just kind of, we're the lioness over households. So
Yeah.
with that said, we just kind of oversee the household. We make sure everything is taken care of. Don't forget your lunch. Don't forget this. Don't do this. Don't do this. Oh, don't forget that this is going to happen. Don't forget that this is going to, don't forget that so and so's coming to fix this. Don't forget that this is, we have everybody's schedule in addition to our schedule.
Yeah.
We have the kids' schedule, the husband's schedule, the dog's schedule. We have everybody's schedule in our heads, and we don't miss a beat. So it's not that we purposely lose ourselves. It's just that we just become everybody else in the midst of it. And then when we sit down and think about it, we're like, wait a minute, well, what about us?
Hey.
But it's not until we actually sit down and think about it, because we're naturally nurturers.
Yeah.
It's a natural part of us. So, but when we sit down, though, ladies, Lord have mercy.
Sometimes
don't sit down.
You're so tired.
Right.
You don't do anything when you sit down and think about it. So you just put on the back burner.
Exactly.
When it comes to divorce, sometimes it's a mutual agreement that it's time, like in a Tara case where you're saying that you all outgrew each other. Was that mutual, or did you feel like you outgrew him and he felt like he didn't outgrow you? Or was it mutual where you agreed that, hey, we both have outgrown each other?
No, it wasn't mutual. It was It was me raising my hand saying, hey, we need to do something. If we don't, then I'm a big communicator. Like, I will definitely tell you, hey, I'm seeing flares, like red flags. Let's talk about this. But you only can communicate with so much by yourself. That's so when I get tired of talking to myself, I'm like, okay, well, this is my situation. This is what I think we should do. Maybe let's try this. And that's when I told him, let's try separating and let's see what that brings. And you go, let's separate and you get some help and I get some, and let's go to family therapy. The two of us, let's go to counseling and then do family, because the kids were still in, one was in high school and one was in middle school. So let's do that. He agreed upon it, but then when we separated, I got served. He served me with divorce papers.
Got you.
I'm a big. She
said you gonna play.
Yeah,
like,
you give me the cards. I'm gonna go ahead and play the game. So I'm big on, okay, that's how you feel. Then obviously this is what you really had in mind. So then I just played the game. But I later learned that that's not what he really wanted. What he wanted was that to be a tactic for me to come back. I don't do that. Gotcha. So I was more of a, oh, okay, well, I guess this is how you feel. You know what I mean? Because I'm more of, you can talk to me. Don't play me legally. Like,
right.
That. So that's how it ended up for me. So sorry, no.
All right. Sayonara. Jazz, what is it like for you with your divorce? How did that look?
It definitely wasn't mutual. Oh, no, ma'am. I filed for divorce. And it was due to his infidelity. It wasn't the first time, but I told him it was the last time if I caught him. And I, showed him I meant business. And it was a very tumultuous time because he didn't want it. So he did fight me kind of tooth and nail, but at the end of the day, we went to mediation and settled because it is what it is. I wasn't coming back because it wasn't just, and I've had this conversation before, it wasn't just the infidelity. It was the lack of trust. It was disrespect. That was the most part. And I felt like if I can't trust you and you don't respect me, then there's nothing to talk about. Like, it's a done deal. So
understood. I want to circle back on something that you said when you said infidelity and that it wasn't the first time. As wives, and I'm just saying that as you know, we've been wives, though we're divorced now, we've been wives. And you do love your husband. You do want it to work. So there are times where other people, because sometimes it's outside voices that want to tell you what you should do, right? Whether it's in-laws, friends, his side, your side, whoever. It's a lot of outside voices that's telling you what you should do in your marriage. And not often is that the voice that you need to hear. Because a lot of times they're not the ones inside. They're not the one that knows everything. A lot of times we don't tell everything that's happening. We tell you bits and pieces just so you can get a gist of what we're dealing with. So I know that when it comes to infidelity, and like you said, you didn't leave the first time, that's to give him time to straighten up and figure out, do you want this? Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm just putting that out there for those people that may be in a situation right now that's still married and feeling like they have the outside voices telling them, oh, he cheated, leave him. But it's not always that easy, right?
Right.
You know,
it was nobody tell me. I didn't even tell anybody the last time when the incident happened. The last incident happened. I actually took time to myself and I weighed the pros and cons. And like, do I really? Because my son at that time, I don't even think he was 2. So I'm like, I'm gonna be a single mom with a toddler. You know, we're gonna have a different household. Everything, all those things are weighing. I'm weighing that decision, and I had to come like, I don't want my son to grow up in an environment where he thinks this type of behavior is okay, where he's seeing his dad disrespect his mom, or think that that's how you treat women and all that kind of stuff like that. It was just those factors that outweighed the benefits of our marriage, and it was just like, this person, he's going to continue to do it because he's already shown me that he doesn't respect me enough for to keep the fidelity in our marriage. So I had no choice but to leave to keep my sanity, and also to make sure that my son grew up in a healthy environment.
Understood. I love it. This is very good information, not only for me and each other that's on here, but those viewers that are watching. It is very, very, very good information, because as Tara spoke about therapy and counseling, a lot of times in our culture, I'm just going to put that out there. A lot of times in our culture, we don't want to speak to a therapist. We don't want to go and talk that thing out. We feel like, oh, we're supposed to talk to mama and big mama and all of that, because that's what we grew up knowing. Like, don't let people in your business, keep it private, just deal with it. Those type of things is what we were taught growing up in our culture. And the older that I get and the more experiences that we go through, we see that there is a need to speak to someone. There is a need for someone to hear what it is that we're going through and help us to process it. So many times we are taught to be so strong that any inkling of weakness makes us feel like we've dropped the ball. But I am here to say that it's okay to talk to someone and allow them to help you process. I am also here to say that it is okay to give your mate, whether it's your husband, your wife, an opportunity to correct. If you are going to spend the rest of your life with someone, they are going to be several different people throughout that time frame of you all being married. The women tonight have already explained that they were young when they got married. We weren't, where we are now, where we are confident within ourselves. We were relatively young. So when you're young, whatever those situations are around you that's making you believe that, hey, I need to be a wife right now, or hey, I'm ready to be a wife, or hey, I want to save this man, because sometimes that can be it. I want to save this man. I see the potential in this man, but sometimes the man doesn't see the potential within himself, and we want to push him to be the potential that we see, and that's not where he is right now. So if you are enjoying this podcast thus far, please like, subscribe, and bang that bell so you don't miss any content. Darletta, I'm going to bring you on so that you can explain your side of things in regards to divorce.
Well, I just it wasn't mutual. I was, not am now. I was a very bad communicator. I did not communicate. My method was run. I learned valuable lessons because all of that stuff that you run from catches up to you tenfold.
Mm-hmm.
I was a runner, so it wasn't a mutual thing. It wasn't a conversation that was had. It wasn't any of those things because I just left. I didn't like the situation, what was going on, and it was several things at play. I had to come to realize that I was growing. How I grew is later what I had to deal with, like what I wanted, who I wanted to be. And especially with having kids, because my kids were young, which I'm pretty sure everybody's kids were. I didn't even think of going to counseling because I just simply did not want it to work. I bottomed out and I didn't know who to talk to. So I kept a lot of what I felt inside. I kept a lot of what I was doing inside. I left the situation and dealt with it later. It wasn't messy later, but I think if I would have dealt with it when that time was, it would have been very crazy and my story would be different. Like I'm saying, the story would be very different, honey. But because I ran, I didn't give any of those things an option. I would probably do everything I did. I don't regret anything that I've done. I just wish that I paid attention to adults. And when I say that is look at red flags, because listen here, ladies, I didn't even know what a red flag was. I think I was a red flag.
Hey, sometimes we are the red flag.
Right, right.
I think I was the red flag. When you don't have no idea what happened, I have to take accountability. It took me forever to learn just accountability because me running is not, owning up to what I've done and look at myself. So I'm in a whole new light. I'm in a whole new self. So
yes.
Accountability was huge, and I played a huge part in my marriage not working. That I know what to do now.
I love it. Yes, yes. So on that note, we are going to go to what's the meme? Now tell me what the meme means.
What the meme mean? What the meme mean?
So that meme is talking about that sometimes we have to go through things that destroys us so that we can find the best versions of ourselves for the most part. And I'm not saying that the marriage destroyed us, but when we talk about a divorce, that is no longer. It doesn't mean that you can't still be friends with your ex-husband or whatnot, or you can have a cordial relationship or co-parent. But that is a part of us that kind of dies. Anybody want to elaborate on that when it comes to the marriage dissolving and how difficult it is to get yourself back together afterwards? Any steps that you took after you got a divorce to kind of find yourself, not really on the outside appearance, but internally? What type of steps could you tell somebody that is maybe going through a divorce right now of things that they may be able to do after when it comes to finding yourself again?
So for me, one thing that I did is I definitely leaned on therapy. I'm big on talking to somebody. It has a lot to do with what I do as a profession, but also I think that I can't do it alone, and you definitely need someone to help you through the process. Um, my divorce was a hard divorce because my ex just didn't want the divorce, even though he initiated it. It's not something that he actually wanted, and but I went through the process because that's what he initiated. So with that said, I always encourage people um, to talk. Talking is your best, is the key to success. Um, Communication will always be the key to success. Talk to someone, get a confidant. And the confidant doesn't necessarily have to be someone in your family. A lot of times people think that, oh, I need to talk to my mom or my grandma or but sometimes the best person is someone outside your circle. Um, and the reason being is because they can see the things that you can't see.
Yes.
And or they can see it in a space that your family or yourself won't see it.
Yes.
You're looking at it from a different lens, and because they can look at it from a different lens, they can help you see it from a different lens. And so therapy is always the best. That's the best. That's my recommendation. And if you can't do therapy, find someone that you can confide in that's outside of your circle. Um, that's also going to be neutral to you.
Yes.
Not have, you know, a dog in your race or his race. Anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Because
I
you
agree.
don't want that. You don't want someone that's going to have a dog in either race. You don't want them to be on your side. You don't want them to be on his side. You just want them to be as neutral. You want them to be Switzerland, just
Yes.
an ear and kind of, you know, they don't even have to have an opinion. Actually,
Yeah.
just be the listening ear.
Right.
Because a lot of times that's what we need. We just need somebody to listen to us.
Right.
I agree. Any recommendations, Jasmine?
I agree with Tara. I did therapy. I still do therapy. When you're going through a divorce, your whole life shatters. Like
Mhm.
everything what you envision for the future, everything is going. It's something new, and that is something that's traumatic. So you have to talk to somebody, or you should talk to somebody to work out and process your feelings. So you don't end up carrying that weight into your possible next relationship and punishing that person because you didn't process your feelings, and also for yourself to allow yourself to heal.
Right.
So I would definitely recommend, even if you don't, see like a mental health counselor. I'm personally Christian and religious. Speak to your pastor if you want to,
Mhm.
so someone to, work those feelings out for you, so you can have a safe ground to kind of in healthy way to get to those feelings.
I love it. I love it. Darlette, anything you want to add?
I'm just gonna simply agree with these beautiful ladies. I also go to therapy, and your mental health is everything. And
Yes.
because I was a runner, it let me collect all the things that I was running from.
Yes.
So yes, and I agree. You have to have somebody that's on neutral ground. You can't have somebody who knows either one of you guys and get a good result. Like
Mhm.
it's just not gonna work. It's not gonna happen. So yeah, and you also need somebody to talk to. So
Mhm.
yeah, I agree. I agree with
Def-
you.
I definitely agree to the unbiased because again, that way they can see things from a whole different lens and see where maybe, we dropped the ball. And I know sometimes
Right.
it's easier for someone to say, well, he should have did this and he should have did that, but you need somebody that can help you process it and be able to say, well, maybe you all could have, or
Right.
Right.
you
Right.
know, try to just
Right.
helps us moving forward for, like y'all said, the next level and the next golden years and what that looks like. So I do want to ask, because I heard you, Jasmine, mention the Christian background.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to divorce, and I'm saying this because when I got divorced, I was heavy in the church. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that I, don't have a relationship with Christ now, because I do. But I want to bring up the whole Christian background, because I know growing up, it was stay married forever. Doesn't matter what the man does, what the woman does, you stay married, come hell or high waters, you stay in that relationship and you make that thing work. But my personal perspective on that is the marriage died when XYZ happened, when the infidelity continually happened, when you start getting punched in the face every Friday because he ain't had no more money, because he drunk it all up. Whatever it was, you know what I'm saying? Whenever it started to get to a point that there was no control anymore, where there was holes in the walls, where the kids were getting beat, whatever the case is, I'm not saying that it's always that bad, but what I am saying is whatever reason it was to dissolve the marriage, we have to keep in our minds that God does not want us staying in those type of situations. And that's my perspective. And I know everybody has their own, but I brought that up so that we can talk about that. Being a Christian or growing up in the church or having your grandmothers or great grandmothers that are of the church, and the perspective of the Christian side of things when it comes to a divorce.
Yeah, I growing up in a Christian background, I think a lot of people kind of skip over the fact that God talks about that in the Bible. I believe it's Malachi 2:13, and it says they usually say that for evidence for say that God doesn't support divorce. But the reason why God doesn't like the divorce because marriage is a gift, and He specifically talks about if you abuse your spouse, you are you are just, disavowing what I gave you. So you can't abuse your spouse and think I'm going to bless you. So that's why He hates divorce, not because you got divorced. It's because you are messing up the gift I gave you by infidelity, abusing them, because you're supposed to love your wife and your wife's supposed to love you like Christ loved the church. That's what the Bible says. So that's what anytime if you are in a situation where you're being abused, God doesn't want you to be there like that. That God loves you so much, and He wants somebody to love you like He loves you. So
that's right.
For that.
And let's jump into that. And when we go to abuse, because abuse is not always physical. A lot of times people think about physical abuse. Abuse is not always physical. Tyra, you shaking your head. Elaborate for me, girl.
So the biggest type of abuse is the mental abuse. A lot of people think that that's why mental health is such a big thing now. Mental health really became big after COVID, and it was always there. It just was elevated after COVID. So, but mental abuse is the number one of the number one forms of abuse. And a lot of people just don't see it. I mean, you can mentally abuse someone by just saying one nasty word to them. And people don't understand it. And it's because people don't understand the word perception. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And it's how I perceive what you're saying to me. And my perception is my reality. And that's how it becomes the abuse to me. So people don't get that and they don't see it that way. So then therefore they think that I should just take it. No, that's not how it works. You have to treat the people the way that you want to be treated. Do you want to be spoken to that way?
Yeah.
And we were taught that way, treat people the way that you want to be treated, but people think that that's all just physically. No, it's mentally as well. How do you want to be spoken to? What's your tone? What's your pitch? What's your volume? Like, we were all taught that in school, but we didn't think it was important. So therefore, tone your voice down. You don't have to yell at me. And even though I perceive that you're yelling at me, that's my perception. Even though you don't think you're yelling, but I think you're yelling because I perceive you to be yelling at me. So therefore, I need you to tone that down.
Exactly.
I need to bring it down by 5 notches.
Yeah. I agree with that, and I like how you put that, because that is true. Sometimes just because we put it out there, we're like, well, I didn't mean it like that. It's not about how you meant it. It's how the person received it. So I love that you put that out there, because that is a great tool when you think about marriage and relationship. Right. Just because you know I would be all right with somebody saying it to me doesn't mean that that person would be all right with you saying it to them. Correct. Honestly, we know our mates. We know if they have tough skin, and we know if their feelings are easily hurt. Right. We know their background with their parents and their upbringing, and we know if they were the golden child and they could do no wrong, and now they're married to somebody that they did all wrong. So together, it's like you gotta feel like you gotta walk on eggshells because I don't want to hurt your feelings, and then they feel like, well, you tough, so I don't need to give you that affection because you always so tough, you know. Right. So you gotta
also we change with age. Every 10 years we change. So what we were doing in our 20s, we ain't doing in our 30s.
That's right.
So what we were doing in our 30s, we ain't gonna do in our 40s. And what we were doing, and so on. Every 10 years, we ain't doing what we were doing 10 years before. So you have to kind of think about that. The things that we were accepting 10 years ago, we just not accepting anymore. And we have to be okay with that. Yeah. And go with the flow.
Yeah. Facts.
I think also another form of abuse that we don't really talk about is financial abuse, and that's
now that's a good one. Talk about it, Jasmine. I'm listening.
A lot of women suffer through that, especially if they become a stay-at-home mom and decide to take care of the kids, and your husband is the breadwinner, because now you're relying on him, and then if something does go wrong in the marriage or there is abuse, you don't have a outlet to get out, a financial outlet, because you're depending on him. And so they are sometimes feel like they have no way or no outlet, so they have to stay in an abusive relationship. And that definitely was going on. We're going to be keeping a buck. That was going on with great grandmama and grandma, and that's why they would turn an eye when grandpa had a family down the street, because they depended on grandpa. They couldn't get a job; they had all the kids raised. So we definitely, as women, need to keep that in perspective. I'm not saying not to be a stay-at-home mom. That's if you want to take care of your children. I did it for 2 years. It was great, but you still need an outlet. Even if you have an Etsy shop or something, something where you bringing in your own income, just for a rainy day, just in case, you know, so you never rely on any person like that.
That's right.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that, and because a rainy day can turn into a thunderstorm.
A hurricane, girl. A hurricane.
It's a sprinkle. It started out just sprinkling, just a light sprinkle. Now, honey, you look up and it's thunder, lightning, and hail. And I ain't got a drive. I can't go just go. I don't got enough money for an Uber.
Right.
I don't got enough money for no gas in this tank too.
Right.
You ain't gonna tell me. Darletta, you have anything you want to elaborate on the abuse perspective that is not always physical? Anything you want to elaborate on? We talked about financial abuse. We talked about mental abuse. You know, any other abuse? You know, you got emotional abuse. You got all kinds of abuses. Anything you want to talk about?
I know y'all kind of hit it on the head right there, because I have experienced all of those things, and that's not coming from who I was with. I was also doing those things, not knowing that that's what I was doing either. So yeah, all of those things you have to first learn what you're doing, as well as the person that's doing it to you.
Yeah.
So I agree with you all too.
I agree. Great. Listen, people, if y'all ain't excited about what's going on here, I don't know what you tuning into, baby. Because I'm telling you, these ladies have been through some things. And when I say they have been through some things, the good part about going through things is to be in a space now where you can talk to people. You can talk about your situation. You can talk about how it made you feel and what it did to ignite the fire underneath you to make the necessary changes. So I am saying that don't look at life and marriage, divorce, all of that as oh my goodness, what am I going to do? My life has fallen so far apart. I don't know how to put the pieces back together. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not facing these things alone. There are other people that have gone through it and are still living, breathing, and stronger than ever. So I am here to tell you, keep on pushing. Talk to somebody that is unbiased, not your girlfriend that has never liked him in the first place, not your mama who did not want you to marry him, and not his friend who always wanted you to be his wife. All right? Be careful, because that's where the mess starts happening. So
right.
We're going to go ahead and move on to the challenge. So I am going to challenge you all that is watching, along with our guest for tonight, to make your expectations clear. Be honest before you jump into a relationship, let alone a marriage with someone. Be honest with yourself. Be honest about your expectations of what you are looking for, and be open to have the conversation of what that person is looking for. Because sometimes we can get into a selfish space where it's all about what you want or I want in a mate. And we don't think about what that mate wants. And I know sometimes you feel like we can fix it when you're dating. And sometimes you feel like things will change after you get married. It does not work like that. If a person is who they are, that is who they are until they decide they want to make the change. You cannot force anyone to change for you. They have to see the reason and want to change for themselves, and then that will make the change in the relationship. So I challenge you all that are in relationships, going through a divorce, just came out of a divorce, or hey, it's just out here dating, not really in anything committed. Make sure that you bring honesty to the next person that you decide to give your life to or share your life with. So I challenge you with that. Now I will bring each lady on to give their final pours. In this moment, ladies, you can give it to people that are divorced, people in a relationship, or just some general information for us as a whole. But it's time for the final pours. Darletta, give us your final pours.
I encourage that you find your focal point. And what I mean is you find that person you can talk to. You set you some boundaries. You set you some standards in any relationship. And remember that you can do anything after a divorce, after all the drama has settled. Just give yourself that time to breathe, because everybody needs that breathing room. And don't get discouraged, because most of us feel scared in every task or every obstacle that we have to come to and overcome. So just make sure that you gather all your thoughts. Don't feel defeated, and strive.
Thank you, Darletta. That is some good information. Make sure y'all striving out there. Make sure you're striving. I'm going to go ahead and bring on Jasmine. Jasmine, give us your final pours.
Remember to always love yourself and learn yourself, because you can't expect someone else to love you and know you if you don't know and love yourself. Also, make sure to always fill your cup. If that's with self-care, that's with self-love, because you can't pour into someone else if you got nothing else to pour into. For those going through a divorce, you're not alone. You'll get through it. It's going to be okay. You are loved.
You are loved. Remember that. You are loved. Even if the first marriage, second marriage did not work out, there was someone created for you Tara, your final pours.
Always remember that there's definitely life after divorce. Remember to always be your best and perform your best self. You are who you are, and you are the best.
You are who you are, and you are the best. Now, that's the way to sum it all up and put it in a cup. You hear me? Tonight's Cups and Conversations. When I say we are leaving no cups empty, I mean just that. I know that everybody's cup is overflowing. You better go and get that mop and mop up that flow. Go get that good towel paper and wipe it on up, because I'm telling you, these ladies have left you nuggets, some golden nuggets that you can tuck away in your pocket. Or go put them in that top drawer. Put them somewhere that is close enough that when you are feeling like it's the end, or you are feeling like there is no way out, or you are feeling like I'm smothered, or whatever it is that you are feeling, that you can go and get one of those nuggets that one of these women brought tonight that will push you through. Thank you so much for joining us on tonight. We are so excited that you decided to spend some time with us. If you have not already, like, subscribe, and bang that bell so you don't miss any content. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thank you for joining us on Cups and Conversations. See you next time.